Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Young Christian man, welcome back to Seeking Wisdom, the podcast to help Christian young men see life from God's perspective. I'm Daniel Schaefer, and I am alone again this week. We just read Proverbs 4, verse 7, and here's what I want to talk to you about this week. This was actually a request last week whenever I put out my Instagram story. I asked if y'all had any ideas for an episode, and this was one of the ideas that came in. So thank you very much for that. The question today is, how can I keep learning? And I'm going to expand it just a little bit, because for a lot of us, we are still in a stage of life where learning is essentially our main job. If you are still in high school or you're still in college, you know what I'm talking about. Most of what you do in life right now is just learning. Like, if you are successful at life at this point, it's because you're learning. That's what you do. All right. But some of us are beyond that. Some of us are blessed in that we are not going to go back to school in the fall, and it's going to be awesome. I'm recording this near the end of summer, if you're listening to this later. So I want to expand the question a little bit so that it's not just how do I keep learning, because some of us are still learning. Like, we don't have to try to keep learning. We'd have to try not to keep learning. So let me expand this to how can I be an independent learner? And that'll cover how do I keep learning, because if you're an independent learner, then whenever no one else is forcing you to learn, you're still going to keep learning. But also, if you're an independent learner, that'll help you so much while you're still in college or still in high school. Okay, let me give you my brief resume for why I am an independent learner now. All right, so growing up until third grade, so kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and then again in fourth grade, I was homeschooled. And the way we would do it, a lot of the time, it was not like a teacher-student setup. Like, my mom wasn't up giving a lecture in front of us, and we didn't have the Abeka videos. At least I didn't. Really what it was is Mom handed me a book, and she said, do pages 10 through 15. And so I opened up my Abeka language book, and I did pages 10 through 15. And if I had questions, I would come ask Mom, and she would answer them. And then I would go back to the dining room, sit back down at the table, and keep working. And that's just kind of how it worked out. Right now, I am in college online, which is great. I'm so grateful for it. But if you've ever done any sort of schooling online, you know that you have to be independent, because there's no one there saying, hey, make sure you get this done, make sure you do this. You don't have the professor standing right there or the teacher standing right there with you. You have to be independent. So I have learned a few tricks to be independent in my learning, and some of this I've just noticed from people I've seen who are older than me and are independent learners. So here are a few tips. I'm going to give you our baseline foundational principle, and then from there I'm going to give you 4 steps, and then I'm just going to give you some practical ways to be an independent learner. All right, here we go. Baseline foundational principle. If you want to learn anything in life, you have to be humble, okay? You do not learn unless you admit that you have to learn something. And if you're too proud to admit that, then you're never going to learn anything at all. All right, so if you walk into school day one thinking you already know everything you need to know, you've doomed yourself. You're not going to learn anything. And that's sad, because there's a lot you still need to learn. All right, if you think that you know everything, then I promise you don't know nearly as much as you need to yet. All right, the smarter you get, the more you realize you don't know, especially when you're studying the Bible, by the way. But number 1, foundational baseline to everything else, you must be humble if you want to learn anything. Don't ever let yourself get to the point where you think you know enough, because you don't. And that goes for anything. That goes for your career. That goes for your Bible knowledge. That goes for knowledge of other people. That goes for your knowledge about yourself, your understanding of yourself and how you work. That goes for anything in life, don't ever think that you know enough, all right? Because you don't. There is one being in our entire universe who has nothing left to learn, and that is God himself, all right? So unless you think you are him, which you're not, that would be blasphemy, then you still have stuff to learn, all right? So be humble enough to admit that. That's your foundational baseline principle. Everything else must build on that. Okay, here are your 4 steps, and they are all 4 going to sound really counterintuitive. They're all going to contradict each other, all right? So number 1, I want you to ask fewer questions. You heard that correctly. Ask fewer questions. Almost anybody will tell you ask more questions. We'll get to that later. But first, I want you to ask fewer questions. Here's the deal. We train ourselves to rely on other people for our learning by asking questions without looking for the answer first. Does that make sense? So let me illustrate what I mean. If I am in math class and I get to a problem that I don't understand yet, if my first step is to ask my teacher how to do the problem, then what I've done is I've trained myself that I'm not capable of figuring that out myself. I have to have somebody else to show me. What that does is it trains your brain that it's never going to be a producer or a problem solver. It's only ever going to be a receiver, all right? And your brain is not made to work that way, by the way. Psychologists will tell you your brain is designed to be a creator and to be a problem solver. It's much better at figuring out problems and solving them than it is at just receiving information. Your brain's just not designed to do that. Now, it can store a whole lot of information, but you're doing yourself a disservice because that's not what it's best at doing. What it's best at doing is solving problems. So use your brain to do that first. All right, that should be your first resort, is to solve the problem yourself. So if you're sitting in math class and I don't know how to do this problem yet, first off, look at it, see if maybe I'm just not thinking through it yet, because half the time that's the issue. 5 minutes of concentrated thought could solve most of the issues in our lives. I got that from my brother, by the way. So if it's wrong, don't quote me. But if I'm sitting in math class, first step is I'm going to try to solve the problem myself without any other help. All right, after that, if I can't do that, then I'm going to see what resources I already have that could help me to solve this problem. So I'm going to turn back 2 pages in my math book, and I'm going to see where they explained how to do this problem. And I'm going to read that. I'm going to look at the example problems. And then I'm going to go back again and try to solve it myself. Now, if I still can't get it, then I'm going to ask a question. Teacher, I don't understand this problem. Like, I get steps 1 and 2, but after that, I really get stuck. Could you help me figure this out? There you go. All right, ask fewer questions. And this one I learned by experience, because growing up, I would ask questions a lot. And one time, I forget what my brother said exactly, but basically, he told me I asked a stupid question. It was like, don't ask that until you've tried to think it through yourself. And you know how big brothers can say stuff in a way that just really makes it stick? Well, he did that, and it really stuck. And so ever since then, I have not asked questions without thinking it through first. And it's helped me a lot to be a very independent learner. So thank you, Bubby, for that. A little sidebar with this. There is such thing as a stupid question. People ask stupid questions all the time. A stupid question is one where you weren't listening or you haven't thought it through yourself. And so now you have to ask somebody because you've trained yourself to be so dependent on them. All right, don't ask stupid questions. A smart question is one that you've thought it through yourself and you still can't find the answer without help. That's a smart question. Okay, so number 1, ask fewer questions. Number 2, and it'll sound contradictory at first, but ask more questions. Okay, so you've narrowed down your questions so that you're only asking about things you really don't understand. Okay, good job. Step 2 is I want you to start expanding and asking more questions. Because now that you're only asking about the things you really don't understand, now you're going to start seeing that there's a lot of stuff you really don't understand no matter how hard you try. And so on those things, that's when you're going to start asking more questions. Be inquisitive. Be like a detective. Try to figure out things that you don't understand. Why is it that when we're in chemistry class, we don't ever mix this chemical and this chemical? I'm going to ask about that. Why is it that God said this in this passage? Why did he say that? How would I act differently if God hadn't said that? Things like that, deeper questions that get into the meat of issues. All right, when you've cut out the fluff questions that you shouldn't have been asking in the first place because they were stupid questions, when you cut those out, then you can get to the real questions. And I want you to start asking more of those. When you start asking more questions, that goes along with being a lifelong learner. You're going to keep asking questions your whole life. Also, this ties back to humility, admitting that you don't know stuff yet. All right? So when I said that first point about asking fewer questions, I'm not telling you to be too proud to ask questions. I'm telling you not to waste other people's time by asking them questions, okay? So number one, ask fewer questions. That's we're cutting out the fluff, only asking about things that we really can't figure out. Number two, ask more questions. All right, so now that you've narrowed it down, you've cut out the fluff, dig deeper, get to the bottom of things. All right. Step 3, I want you to expand your horizons. All right. By that, I mean go explore topics and areas that you've never thought of before, that you never thought were interesting before, that people would probably laugh at you because it's so nerdy. All right. Go figure out what, some like random corner of history. Go learn about the Battle of Waterloo. What was that all about? Why was it significant? Go think about quantum mechanics and figure out how God designed atoms to work. All right, expand your horizons into things that you've never considered before, that never seemed important to you before. And maybe you'll explore these things and think, man, that was really boring. But here's the deal. At the end of the day, you'll know more than you knew before then, which will help you to be smarter. You'll also have more opportunities to ask questions and be a problem solver, which sharpens your brain. And probably the best benefit of this whole thing is when you understand a wide variety of subjects, you're able to connect with a wide variety of people. And when you can connect with a wide variety of people, you're able to share the gospel with a wide variety of people. It's part of being all things to all men. That's a quote from the Bible. Paul said, I've become all things to all men, that I may by all means save some. Our goal as Christians is always, 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 always to glorify Christ. And one of the main ways is by sharing the gospel. The more subjects, the more expanded your mind is, the better you're able to connect, and then the better you'll be able, or the more opportunities you'll have to share the gospel. You say, give me a Bible example. Okay, when Paul went to Athens, remember, he stood on Mars Hill, and he quoted to them one of their own poets. Paul quoted a Greek poet to the Greeks. Now, Paul was a Jew. How could he have done that? Well, because he had expanded his horizons and studied things outside of just what he was comfortable with. Now, chances are maybe he grew up we know he grew up in a Romanized city, so he probably had heard that somewhere growing up. But the point is, he knew things outside of his comfort zone, so he was able to connect with more people. Think of, the classic example. Well, never mind, that doesn't really apply. I was going to say Jesus because he came to earth, but that didn't really apply because he already understood us. It's just we didn't know how to connect with him how we should have. But the point is, expand your horizons. You'll have more opportunities to connect with people. Okay, number 4, I want you to shrink your horizons. All right. So you have asked fewer questions. You've cut out that fluff. You're asking more questions, better questions now. You have expanded your horizons, and now you know about a lot of different subjects. The problem is you have a very thin surface level understanding of all those subjects. All right? Now what you're going to do is you're going to pick a few subjects that really matter, that are going to be really important for you. This might be like your career, your family. I'm talking about the people in your family. This is the Word of God. This is yourself, how you operate. These are like the important things that you need to understand. Maybe a few things that really, really interest you. Maybe you're just super into gardening. Maybe you love animals. Maybe you just cannot get enough of robotics. I don't know, whatever it is. Pick a few subjects that are really, really important and just nail down, drive deep into those subjects and become a master of them, okay? That, I say, shrink your horizons to those things, that you're focused not on a bajillion different things now, you're just focused on just a few things. And with those few things, you're going to learn as much as you possibly can about those few things, all right? So for me, I know that I am called to be a pastor. Like, that is my calling in life. So one of the things that I'm going to nail down into is the Word of God. Like, I cannot afford not to know the Word of God inside and out, front and back. So I'm going to spend as much time as I can learning about the Bible. I know that as a pastor, I'm going to need to know a lot about leadership. So I talk to leaders. I ask them about leadership questions. I observe how people make decisions. I'm going to nail down into leadership and just know it as well as I can. I know that I'm going to be a dad one day, or at least I hope that I'm going to be a dad one day. And so I'm going to watch the dads that I see around me, and I'm going to learn how they parent their children. I'm going to take away what things do I like about that? What things would I not mimic that they do? All right. Learning a few things makes you a master of those. You've heard of people who are a jack of all trades, and that's fine. That's good. But when you're a jack of all trades without being a master of anything, then your abilities are really shallow. All right. So like, I can paint, but I'm not that great at painting. By that I mean paint walls. All right, my abilities in that area are really, really shallow. I'm just not good at painting. But when I was in high school, I was a pretty good goalie because I had nailed down into being a goalie, and I was just like super into that. I tried everything I could to become a master of being a goalie. Now, I don't know that I ever reached master level, like I wasn't actually great, but I was pretty good. I'm much better at being a goalie than I am at painting walls. But imagine if I were only as good at being a goalie as I am at painting walls. I wouldn't have been very helpful to my team. So if all of your life is that shallow, if all of your understanding is that little, then you're not going to be effective in any one thing. So learn to master a few things. Expand your horizons, yes. Know about a lot of things, enough to hold a conversation. But really become a master of just a few things, okay? So there's your 4 steps. Ask fewer questions, ask more questions, expand your horizons, and shrink your horizons. All right, all of that is built on that foundation of just humility. Okay. Now, a few practical things that people who are lifelong learners do, okay? And I've gotten these just from observation or from some people saying it. Number 1, and anybody who's a lifelong learner will tell you this, you need to, you absolutely should read more. Read widely, read a lot, read quickly, read as much as you can. Just read, okay? The more you read, here's why I say read, not just listen to things. Listening to things is good, but when you're reading things, 1, you look at it differently, so it's different psychologically. But 2, words on a page have been more or less perfected by their author. Whereas spoken words are much more impromptu. So like right now, I'm not speaking from a script. I'm just telling you the words that are coming through my mind. Whereas if I were writing this to you, I would be choosing carefully every word and going back and editing and proofreading and correcting it, making it more concise. I would be fixing everything so it's just right if it were on paper. But when I'm just talking, I'm just talking. I'm just communicating openly, right? So whenever you read, what you're getting is you're getting refined thoughts. Thoughts that have been put through the furnace and tried and tested and have come out just exactly how the author wants them. That doesn't mean they're always right or that they're always good. It just means that they're refined, okay? Refined dirt is still dirt. It's just pure dirt, all right? But a refined diamond is a very clean, beautiful diamond. But you want the refined stuff, not the just wishy-washy stuff, okay? So read. Read a lot. Number 2, I would say take notes often. Just write things down that you hear, that you think about. Collect thoughts. Be a collector of thoughts. I like that way of putting it. Just when you find something interesting, when you find something that you think, man, that's really good, rather than just thinking, man, that's really good, and then never thinking of it again, just write it down somewhere. Have a file in your notes app on your phone that you just write down little thoughts that you think are really good and really helpful. The Latin, I think it's Latin term for this, would be ubiquitous capture, right? That's basically capture it immediately before it goes away. So just write it down real fast. So be a collector of thoughts is a great way to be a lifelong learner. Another one would be just take opportunities to learn. So a lot of people don't learn just because they shy away from things that are outside their comfort zone. You know, I've never driven a manual car before. I don't want to do that. You know, it's kind of scary. Well, here's the deal. If you never try it, you're never going to learn how to. And if you keep shying away from things like that, if you keep shying away from new experiences, then you'll never learn those new experiences. So just be a go-getter. Just go for it. Now, do it wisely. I'm not saying just like, well, I'm going to take this manual car on the interstate, even though I've never driven a manual car before. That's a stupid idea, okay? Learn how to do it. Practice in a parking lot maybe. But, like, sure, go learn how to drive a manual car. That'd be awesome. Good job. But whenever you shy away from new experiences, you lose a lot of opportunities. So just be a go-getter. Get after it. Be excited and willing to learn new things. If there's a new job that you've never done before, sure, go do it. You know, if there's something in your house that needs fixed, rather than calling someone else to fix it, why not try and figure it out yourself? Watch a YouTube video, fix it on your own. Like, most things are a lot simpler than you would expect them to be. I changed an outlet the other day for the first time in my life, and it was simpler than I expected it to be. It was really easy. I got zapped a few times, but we're all good. Still have all 10 fingers and all of my toes, so we're all right. Just go get after new experiences. Another one would just be open to learning from people. This goes with humility, but sometimes we're too proud to listen to what other people have to say. You know, when some old lady walks up to you and says, "Hey, well, you know, if you're doing this, I would make sure you do it this way and check this before you go about it." And like, ma'am, I know what I'm doing. When in reality, I've never done this before, but I'm too proud to listen to her advice. Or, you know, before you get in the car, Dad says, "Make sure you check this, son. And have you checked the oil yet?" And you're like, "Of course I've checked the oil, Dad. What do you think? I'm not going to check the oil?" And then, you know, your car starts making strange noises because you never checked the oil because you were too proud to listen, to learn, right? So make sure you're willing to listen to other people. If you aren't, you'll get yourself in a heap of trouble, and you'll miss out on so much that you could have learned. Have you ever noticed, by the way, look, our pride tells us if you are willing, like if you listen to this person and let them act like they know more than you, then everybody's going to look down on you and think you don't know what you're doing. But have you ever noticed in real life, like in other people, the people who are willing to learn are the people you like. The people who are like, oh man, I've never seen it done that way before. Thanks for showing me. Those are the people you end up liking. It's not the people who are like, I know how to do this. You don't need to show me how. No, those are the people that are just jerks. No one wants to be around them, right? Don't be a jerk. Be the person who's like, man, I've never seen it done that way before. Thanks for showing me how. All right, be a learner. People will like you more. But it's also a step of humility, which is obedience to God. The Bible commands humility. By the way, I hope to do an episode on humility soon. That'll be good. But look, be willing to learn from other people. I don't remember all of the tips I gave you, but I'll review the other things. So baseline, be humble. You must be humble if you want to be an independent and lifelong learner. 4 steps. Ask fewer questions, ask more questions, expand your horizons, and shrink your horizons. And then a couple tips. Read ubiquitous capture, or just write things down. Be a collector of thoughts. Be open to new experiences, and be willing to learn from the people around you. You do those things, I think you will be a great independent learner. Those things will take practice, but that's how it is with just about any skill. So, good luck on your journey of independent learning. And if there is anything I can do for you, let me know. If you have any questions, send them to me. You can comment under this episode, or you could DM me on Instagram or Facebook. Or if you have my number, just shoot me a text. Anyways, you guys, act like men. Be strong.